tools for the miners. I do work with the metal, but not steel. My job is to purify gold. And the reason I do that is simply to increase its value, to make the gold more valuable for the mining company that I work for. The mining company provides me with the gold that their miners have found. I clean it and I give it back to them in a much better condition, much cleaner condition, much more valuable. The gold that they're getting out of the ground here in Ballarat is 22 carat gold. And that was the richest, most pure, natural gold you would find anywhere in the world. It's very safe to say Ballarat is the best gold in the world, because we do. Our gold was rated 22 carat because it had very small traces of other elements like silver and copper mixed through it. If I could take that 22 carat gold, remove the silver and copper, I can turn it into 24 carat gold. 24 carat gold is the best type of gold you can get because it's 99.99% and obviously worth more money to the company when they go to sell it. So that's my job. I purify and pour gold. That's what I do. Here's how I do it. Before I tell you that, I'm going to take you back 170 years. Back to 1851. That's when they first discovered the gold here, middle of winter. They tried to keep that a secret. Didn't work. Word quickly spread across our country and the world. People came from everywhere. They left their homes, their jobs, their country, their family, and came all the way to Ballarat, pretty much putting all their faith in Lady Luck. Some of them had experience from the recent California gold rush of 1848. Others, no experience at all. And for a period of about 10 years, the miners are out there scratching up the surface, digging holes down into the ground, chopping down trees, muddying up the creeks and the rivers, looking for that nugget that's going to save make their financial future even bearable. And out of every 100 miners that were here, 5% did really, really well. 45% did make good wages, and 50% were starving. So it was tough work. But by about 1861, we're 10 years after the discovery, the mining companies started setting up here in Ballarat. The mining companies chose Ballarat because we have the best gold in the world, and we have so much of it. It simply made good economic sense. These mining companies are employing people like me. I consider myself the lucky one. I don't have to go and work underground. All my work is done up here. But they are sending hundreds of men, paid, contracted, underground, 6 days a week, 24 hours around the clock. Doesn't matter if you start your shift at midnight or midday. It's always dark. Wet, cold, smelly, dangerous. What you might be surprised to find out is they're not exporting the gold. Mining companies are after this stuff. This is quartz, because they're quartz mining companies. The reason they're after quartz is because it's known as a natural gold-bearing ore. There's gold in this rock, in very fine veins. Imagine a solid chunk of this rock, perhaps 10 times the size of this building with gold running through it. There's more gold in that than there is coming across a nugget like that. So they dig down until they find the quartz reef, they drill holes into it, they fill it with explosive powder, and they blast it to bits. The smaller pieces are brought to the surface, taken into the battery house, and processed. And processing is just crushing them under steam-driven hammers until they are dust. They crush that rock to get the gold out from inside it. And to separate the two, they wash it. The battery house next door has big washing tables with grooves in them. Wash that over the tables. The gold gets caught in the grooves. The rest of the crushed rock just washes away. Now to help, they coated the tables with mercury, because mercury and gold have this natural attraction to each other. And actually, the mercury helps collect the gold for them. And the result of all the work they do next door in the battery house is a thick sticky paste called an amalgam, containing mercury, silver, copper, lots and lots of tiny pieces of 22 carat gold about this size, which by themselves are worth nothing. They bring that mixture into me, and I put it in this little cooking pot out front here. That goes into the furnace. 358 degrees later, the mercury turns to gas, and the gas escapes out that pipe. Now back then, OH&S wasn't really a thing. You breathe in those mercury fumes, it'll kill you. Until somebody discovered, you put the pipe in a bucket of water, and the poisonous gas bubbles through the water. Turns back into silver droplets of mercury in the bottom of the bucket. No one's breathing this poisonous gas, and you can reuse the mercury. Win-win. So once I've removed the mercury, I still need to get rid of the silver and the copper. To do that, I'll take a crucible. That's what's in the furnace at the moment. What's left of the amalgam, the silver, the copper and the gold, go in. A little bit of powdered borax on the top, which acts as a flux to collect all those impurities. Into the furnace, and I'll take it up to a minimum 1064 degrees. That's the temperature at which gold will melt. And when that gets to 1064 degrees, the generated heat is enough to melt any impurity. Gold is the heaviest thing in the crucible, so it sinks to the bottom. All those impurities rise up and sit on top. They get collected by that powdered flux, creating a dirty crust on top of the gold. So as the gold is poured out, the crust floats to the back and stays inside the crucible. So what I'm pouring out just happens to be 99.99% pure, 24 karat gold. And if that's the end result, my job here is done. That gold is now worth more money. I've taken lots and lots of tiny 22 karat pieces and poured them into one big 24 karat gold bar. Now folks, I'm about a minute away from pouring a bar for you. If you'd like to take some sort of pictorial memorial, now's a good opportunity to get your devices ready. But I must ask that you don't come any closer than that red line at your toes there. That's our safe splash distance. Should anything go wrong again.
I have a question.
Yes.
Would you have to be a very trustworthy person? Like, why would they trust this person doing this job?
Back in those days?
Yeah. Like, how could you not do once?
I reckon it might happen.
Yeah, right.
It doesn't happen in here. It's too many cameras.
But back in the day?
Back in the day, yeah, look, you'd have to have a pretty trustworthy person in the role, yeah. Just decipher a little bit off yourself here and there. A little bit here, a little bit there. But they soon noticed if my bar was going down and down and down. So I can see that the gold in here is now completely liquid, so I know I'm at 1064 degrees. But if I take it out now, by the time I get to that mould, it will be a solid. Gold loses its temperature very, very quickly, if it's got a reason to. And for that, it needs to touch something to transfer that heat off. Now I don't know where 1200 degrees is, because that's the temperature I'm taking it up to. I don't have a thermometer out the front here, but the gold tells me it's ready to be poured by the way that it changes colour. Now I went to 1200, so I've got enough time to be able to do this. It gives me about 15 seconds to get this part of the job done.
Is that real gold?
100% real gold.
Wow. I thought it might be fake gold or something. Wow.
Because we are a museum, everything we tell you has to be true, everything we do has to be true. Now, in that short time while the gold's been in there, it's transferred enough of its heat to go from 1200 down to 900 already. The gold at 900 degrees, what do we know about it?
Solid. Wow.
Just like that. Absolutely 100% real gold. It's still sitting at 900 degrees, which is fairly hot. Hot enough to set this stick of wood on fire straight away. Absolutely even. Even a wet stick. Now one thing that is amazing amazing about this metal is something that it doesn't do very well. Gold really struggles to radiate heat. So if my hands were cold, I would be wasting my time trying to heat them up off the gold. I would have more heat coming from that mold there than I can this gold bar. I could actually put the tip of my nose to within 1 millimetre of that and not get burnt.
Oh, wow.
Because there's just no heat coming from it. I can barely feel the heat. And yet it sits at 900 degrees. It's only if you touch it will you get burnt. Now in its current state sitting there, the gold has nowhere to transfer its heat to because it's not touching anything. So it will just sit there and cool down slowly over the next 3 hours before it's cool enough to be picked up. Now I am going to pick that up with my bare hands in 30 seconds from now. So I need to give it another way to transfer up some of that heat. I know cold water cools things down. So to demonstrate again how quickly it cools down, as soon as I get this pot off, I should be able to pick that up. Now the safest way to test if it is in fact cool enough to be picked up is to use someone else's hand. Put your hand up, sir. Or I can feel the temperature of the water. Now you expect that water to be quite warm. It's actually really, really cold, even next to the gold bar. So I can safely pick it up just like that. It cools down so very quickly. So the end result, I'll come around and take a photo, is a 3 kilogram bar that is 99.99% pure 24 karat gold. Over 100 ounces here. The price per ounce at the moment is about $2,200.
How many? 2,200.
$2,200 an ounce. Over 100 ounces. About $71,000 a kilo. I have 3 kilos here. So this little gold bar currently sits just about the $220,000 mark. Which is interesting because 6 months ago it was $280,000. It's dropped a bit. Price of gold goes up and down all the time, depending on world events. But this little gold bar here would be then stamped by the blacksmith would stamp their logo, weight, purity, send it down to Melbourne. We keep this one here. We cast the Melbourne, the same one over and over. So this little gold bar here has had about more than, we calculate, more than 100,000 demonstrations done on it.
So it doesn't change
Doesn't
the
lose any of its
metal
properties.
or anything?
No.
It can melt it as many times as you want.
Whereas other metals you can't.
Yep. Next door they go to samples.
Next door they go to sample. Yeah, you can have, would you like a free 24 karat gold sample? Go down to the creek, Mark.
Oh, okay.
I've got a question.
Yes, Mark.
So, lady,
Yes.
I was just got a question, how's it transported in some sort of vehicle?
Good question. This goes on the back of a horse and coach.
No, today.
Oh, today, how's it transported? Armour guard.
Yeah. And is it,
Anything
could
that,
be identified on it?
believe it or not, gold has its own DNA.
Okay.
So we can tell
Yep.
if this was stolen and ended up in Chicago, they could test where this gold came from, which
Okay.
we're out of the ground. Yeah,
Interesting.
absolutely.
Is that because of that 1% that's not pure? It has minerals in the soil.
Well, we can never get 100% pure because
Yeah.
inside there might be a small air bubble,
Yeah. Oh, okay.
and oxygen is another element, so
Yeah.
it takes up space as well. I don't know how often that would have to happen, that you'd have to DNA test gold, but it can be done. Yes, Mum?
so the bar was 900 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
You put in the water,
Yep.
and you told us that the water wasn't hot.
No, that water...
So where is the heat transferred to?
That water is cold all the way through. The gold boils the water instantly,
Yeah.
and the heat just escapes as steam.
As steam.
Yeah.